It started with a bright orange notice taped to my front door, stamped with the HOAS seal. My neighbor Karen had filed a formal complaint against me. According to her, my backyard hens were a nuisance and unacceptable for our community. The hens had never bothered anyone. They clucked softly, laid fresh eggs, and stayed behind a sturdy fence. But Karen, always peering from her window, decided they were an offense to her perfect lawn and spotless driveway. I knew this wasn't about chickens, it was about control, and that complaint was only the beginning. The HOA quickly sided with Karen, sending me threatening letters and citing rules about unauthorized livestock. I argued that my hens were pets, well cared for and cleaner than most dogs in the neighborhood, but the board didn't care. Fines began to pile up, and Karen smirked each time she saw me in the driveway. I tried to ignore her glares, but it was clear she wanted my chickens gone. Still, the hens remained happy, scratching in the dirt, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. Little did Karen know, the hens' time to shine was approaching. Whispers spread through the neighborhood about strange noises at night. Several families reported pets acting uneasy and trash bins overturned. While most dismissed it, others grew anxious. Karen, of course, blamed my chickens, saying they attracted pests. Her crusade against me grew louder, and the HOA tightened their threats. But behind the scenes, my neighbors were starting to notice that Karen's obsession seemed personal. I kept my head down, tending to the hens each morning, and aware that something far more dangerous than Karen's complaints was lurking nearby. And one night, that danger finally showed itself. It was late, just after midnight, when a chilling howl echoed across the neighborhood. Motion lights flicked on, and shadows shifted along fences. A coyote had wandered into our quiet suburban streets. The predator sniffed the air, eyes glowing, searching for easy prey. Houses that once felt safe suddenly seemed fragile. Karen's manicured yard, once pristine, was now vulnerable. Families peered from behind curtains, hearts pounding as the animal crept closer. And while fear spread through the community, my hens began to stir. No one expected what would happen next. The moment the coyote reached my fence, the hens erupted into chaos. Wings flapped, feathers flew, and their loud, panicked cries cut through the stillness of the night. The racket was deafening, waking the entire block. The coyote froze, startled by the sudden explosion of sound and motion. It prowled the fence line, confused and hesitant, while the hens refused to be silenced. Their frantic chorus carried across the neighborhood, serving as a natural alarm system. Doors opened, lights flicked on, and neighbors spilled outside. The predator's surprise would soon turn into retreat. Within minutes, neighbors grabbed flashlights, sticks, and even garden tools, rushing toward the source of the noise. The coyote, overwhelmed by lights and shouting, bolted into the woods, vanishing into the night. Everyone stood breathless, realizing the danger had been real. And just as quickly, they realized who had sounded the alarm: the hens. What Karen had labeled a nuisance had just saved pets, yards, and possibly children from a lurking predator. The neighbors turned to me, gratitude in their eyes, while Karen stood stiff on her porch, fuming in silence. The story was far from over. The very next morning, Karen stormed into an HOA meeting, demanding my hens still be removed. But her argument had no power anymore. Neighbors spoke up, reminding the board that the hens had saved the community. Families who once stayed quiet now praised the birds, calling them heroes. The HOA, faced with overwhelming support, backed down. The fines disappeared and the hens were allowed to stay. Karen, red-faced and furious, had lost her grip. Her endless campaign had collapsed under the weight of her own pettiness. And the hens clucked on, victorious. Weeks passed and the hens became local legends. Neighbors dropped by with treats, children begged to visit, and even the local paper ran a small story about the chickens who saved a neighborhood. The once divisive birds were now celebrated protectors, symbols of resilience against both predators and pettiness. Karen no longer made eye contact with me, her silence louder than her complaints had ever been. Each morning, as I collected fresh eggs, I smiled, knowing justice had been served. What began as a feud had ended with feathers, victory, and a neighborhood united.